J'aimerais souhaiter la bienvenue à tous mes amis québécois et à tous les francophones.
Hello and welcome to the Cabin Boy Knits Woolcast. I'm Christopher.
And I'm Jamie. This is our next episode in our Canadian interview series.
I'm super excited about this one because we are going to Montebello and we are going to interview someone who's had a huge impact on the Canadian fibre scene and especially in Quebec.
She has had a varied career. She ended up on a goat farm, purchased goats, cashmere. She started the largest festival of fibre in Canada, Twist, and she also just recently opened a fantastic yarn shop in Montebello.
She's a yarn dyer and she has 70 kids. So sit back, grab your favorite drink, and she'll tell you her story.
And her name is Amelie Blanchard.
Hello and welcome to the Cabin Boy Knits Woolcast. We are here with another episode of the Canadian interview series and I'm super excited about this one.
We're here with Amelie Blanchard from Wool, Emporium de laine.
Bravo!
We usually ask the interviewee to introduce yourself.
Okay, I can do that. So my name is Amelie Blanchard. I'm the new owner of Wool Emporium de laine in Montebello, Quebec. And I'm a goat breeder, spinner, everything, knitter, and I raise goats.
And what did you do before that? So this is not your first career.
No, I started out, I was a television producer in Montreal and bought a farm at some point and sort of slowly had a more rural life.
So how do you go from being a TV producer to a farm? Was it something that you always wanted?
Probably. I love animals and farms.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been a vet, probably, if I would have been like really good in science. But I met this man called Sven, Swedish man, and he lived in the countryside, and we met like neighbors that had sheep, and she would open the door and she was like spinning yarn with her husband and knitting. There was like a little lamb like in diapers beside her at the door. Like, oh my goodness, I really have to discover this world. So
that sounds like a fairy book story.
it's sheep, but I prefer goats because they're like more social. So I got into goats and cashmere. There we go.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That almost looked or sounds like a premonition that it was.
Yeah.
Because
Definitely.
it turned into real life, I think,
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, it did. It
So
did.
how many goats do you have?
We have around 70 right now, and
70.
70,
Wow.
and 25 of them are cashmere.
Oh, nice. And
Yeah.
so what do you do with the cashmere?
I brush it off. I brush it off in March.
Yeah.
When it starts to come off naturally. So I invite people at the farm. They come and help me, and they give cookies to the goats, pet them, and we take the big Q-tip off of them because they just look like big Q-tips. And I wash the cashmere, send it off to the mill, and they de-hair it, and it comes back either as roving or yarn.
So we went from a TV producer
Yeah.
to living on a farm. So where did the knitting or crocheting come in?
I've always done a lot of crafts with my mother when I was a kid, like for art schools and like everything, drawing. So I'm just naturally drawn to that, and my grandmother showed me how to knit, and my mom too. But I'm left-handed, so it was always very difficult for me to kind of get the hang of it.
Yeah.
But when we got the goats, I had to, I'm going back in time a bit, but I had to study a bit more the how to analyze fiber. So I went out west in Alberta, and I did like a small training to learn to analyze the fiber.
Oh, great.
At Olds College. So when I was there, it was Fiber Week, and then there were like tons of like super young girls with their wheels.
Yep.
And I thought it was the most intricate thing. And we had an evening where we had to play with cashmere. So one was carding, the other one was knitting, the other one, anyways, like little teams like that. We made a project in that evening, and I came home and I'm like, okay, I've got to start spinning, learn to spin, and 2, I could organize things. Maybe I could organize a festival or something, like bring this whole thing to life in Quebec, you know, and like really make it like modern. And so it really sparked like quite the joy.
That's incredible, because you wouldn't really think that, okay, I'm going out there, I'm going to learn how to understand fiber, and then you come back thinking, I'm going to start a festival.
Not just any festival,
Not
the Twist Festival,
Twist Festival.
happened to be one of the largest, or the largest in Canada. So, as you said, TV producer, I'm going to get goats. I'm going to live on a farm, spin. And then you go to a little lesson where you learn a few things, and you're like, wow. And all of a sudden, you felt so inspired. And here we are at Twist, and then
I get to meet you guys. Like, life is beautiful. Really, the fiber world is.
It is a great world.
It's a fabulous world, and you keep learning from each other, and
Yeah.
endless projects.
And so, okay, so now we're at, so Sven's in the picture. You have your farm.
Yeah.
How did the farm come about?
Well, he was living in the countryside. He was renting a little cottage, and we just kind of thought it would be nice to have a project together. Found a farm.
Yes.
A bit far from Montreal, but still I was going in and out, like sleeping over there. And when I was working, like for a few years, I did that.
Yes.
Then I set up the festival at the same time, and
Out of Montreal. Because were you?
no, I was living in the country.
You were living in the country.
I was living in the
already.
country, driving in, working,
Okay.
sleeping over in Montreal sometimes.
Okay. So where were you from originally then? Like in the area?
Where I am right now, close to Montebello.
Oh, nice.
No, actually, I grew up in Ottawa. Then I had my career in Montreal.
Okay.
And then when I met Sven, he was in Mirabel, which is an hour out of Montreal.
Okay.
And
And you found your way in
Saint-André, Asselin,
where the Twist Festival is.
yeah, takes place.
Yes, I heard years ago, when I was at my first men's knitting retreat, there was talk of a Twist Festival in Canada, and one of my friends, John Crane and Phil from Montreal, they were talking about it, and they went to one of your very first Twist Festivals, and they were talking about how fantastic it was because it was very intimate. That's the word they used, intimate. And they said it was very French Canadian as well. And for John Crane, growing up in Vermont, he really appreciated that fact. So, that was one of the big sellers. And they said, it was starting off and classes were great and whatnot, but it has grown exponentially. And so what is the secret to your success?
I think that the community made it a success, really. For sure, we help with the programming and who gets in and which classes are given. But if there's no one coming that has the interest and likes natural fiber, we're not really far off. But I think it's a positive, very positive event.
Yeah, well, I also think that some of the people that you have working with you, like we've met a bunch of them there, and they're super helpful and friendly, and it's just got a great vibe to it. When you show up, it's got the atmosphere is terrific. So I think that the culture that you've established within that festival has definitely paid off hugely, just by the success of it.
And my
so
feeling
sweet.
is not to be biased with les Canadiens Français ou les Québécois, but I find we love coming to Quebec and Montreal, And we say this every time. And when we were living in the big city in the the Anglophone community of Ontario, we always had a fantastic experience, and we think that everyone is so friendly, and there's something, just this love of life, and there's just this, you think of French Canadians, and it's one of those unique experiences. Everyone's super friendly. That's what I think. Everybody's jolly and friendly, and it's different, and people from the country, and we love the experience altogether. And I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
So I think we're 5 minutes into the interview, and you've already teared up once.
You were getting teared up. I saw you. You're all teared up.
We didn't bore
this one.
We didn't bore you. I always tear up in the interviews.
This one does. This one does.
Because of
I'm
the
okay.
light?
No, this
No,
one.
no, because of the subject matter.
Don't be so serious. I always imagine you as being like so serious,
No, we talk about, it's very.
But-
Oh, we're very serious all
It's
the time.
very special about, and
No, you're not. That's the thing. But I get all it's English humor. That's what Sven tells me because he's from Ontario, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he makes jokes, but he's really serious, and I'm like, I take it all super personal. He's like, that's English humor, and I'm like, well, I'm still learning
And isn't it-
after all these years.
And it's interesting because when we talked to, in our other interviews where we had, they were talking about her husband's Ontario, they were West Coast, Ontario, and there was something very specific about Ontario. They were saying how
Okay.
the humor or something.
You're talking about Sylvia Olsen in that interview.
I was.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's funny that you mentioned, your relationship with, Canada Français and then Sven, Ontario, very different, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it's interesting because, I find being bilingual, and maybe for yourself, because you speak English very well, you're bilingual as well. So people that don't know that I speak French, for example, as soon as we open up and speak a little French or show, it's very interesting that Ontario, Quebec, French, there's still a bit of that.
Well, the math is easy.
Mm-hmm.
It
It's
is.
true.
It's a pocket of 8 million people on a continent
Yes.
of 330 million. And that little 8 million speaks French.
I think that's interesting the way you broke that down because you included the United States in that. And I thought you were just going to include Canada, but that's really interesting because you talked about the continent, so that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's why you can see, though, there's definitely a culture that's unique to Quebec. I mean, I would agree that. And the French Canadian, their joie de vivre and all of that. And I could see why when John and our American friends come up to Twist, and people from outside of the province even, they're going to find it very pleasant, very different, the culture, all of it, and the way the festival is run, and that's thanks to you and the people that are employed there, and
The
a lot of
volunteers,
locals.
the locals.
Exactly.
They don't all speak English.
It's an experience,
Yeah, everyone's able to communicate.
which is fantastic.
It's like, it's lovely. It's
Oh.
lovely.
Okay, so let's get back to your career because
Oh, gosh.
because we have not finished
Yeah.
that. We're just scraping the edge, right?
We're
So-
just getting into Twist.
We're just getting into it. So we've got the TV producer, and then we have farm and taking care of animals, and then we have Twist, which is a huge job in itself. And we're not sitting in a farm, we're not sitting at Twist, we are sitting in your wool shop. So, wool, yes, your wool shop. So where did that come from?
Honestly, okay, last fall, I found it pretty tough, like the whole situation and not doing a twist and just
Yeah.
not knowing what we're doing. I said we would not talk about the pandemic, but it's a pandemic project, this thing, so I have to talk about it a little bit. So I started knitting a lot, and as a lefty,
Mm-hmm.
I finally, my brain just understood knitting all of a sudden. And there was it's not complicated, I can do it. Stephen West did help me with a couple of projects,
Awesome.
and I like his openness and FUCK, the gauge, the size of
okay.
just don't be all stuck up into something. So I developed a certain confidence, in
Yeah.
my knitting,
Yeah.
enough that in January, I just had a flash. I woke up one morning, I'm like, Sven, just had this idea, but what if I open a wool store, a yarn store? Because I think that's the only thing I can do. Like, I need to see people. I need to be with people who love fiber. I want to share my passion. Could I do this? It's like, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So it made sense, but I think it's because I knit a lot last fall, and I was able to gain the confidence to actually help other people knit,
Yeah.
not just be like, I don't know what you're talking about. So now I want to learn crochet and macrame also, but
Yeah, that's great. And it's so important to have a supportive partner as well. I mean, that definitely helps.
yeah, very supportive.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
But it's almost like your premonition when it went back to, the happy home, and then the goats came, and then the farm did happen. So it's only a natural progression that all of a sudden, hey, a shop. And here we're sitting in this wonderful space, beautiful setup, and you've done it, and you're here, and we're here, and you're here. And how has it been?
It's been awesome, honestly. It was a lot of work setting it up, and I did get a lot of help from other store owners.
Fantastic.
The local yarn store owners are really amazing.
That's great. That's great to hear.
Well, just depending where you are, maybe the socio-demographics are different, maybe the types of yarn you'll carry will be different, and then you have your own personal taste and where you want to take things. Then I'm doing a class on cyber commerce to set up my own online shop. But I've got coaches that are helping me and that make decisions and stuff. So it's extremely kind of stressful too, because you're investing a lot, but at the same time, it's extremely rewarding because I don't feel like I'm selling stuff. Like I'm selling un passe-temps. How would you say
quoi?
Un passe-temps.
Un passe-temps.
Passer le temps.
Pour passer le temps?
Oui.
Oh.
Un passe-temps.
Like a hobby?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
sell a hobby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's like a hobby. Like,
But
because
there's-
a hobby, you could do it as a passion. It's a hobby. It's something I like doing it. I'm doing it. But you've turned it into a business and success because you're.
Yeah, so I'm not selling yarn. I'm meeting people.
Yeah.
And everyone, I don't know, there's something about us
So pass
fiber
time,
people,
okay.
we're really intimate about what
So
we
yeah,
go through.
it's-
Okay, so it's
And so
where-
I'm meeting people, and
So
that's what my
okay.
daily life is. I'm not selling bread. I'm not selling made in China stuff.
It's because, and like you're saying, passe-temps, it's because you're saying you would be doing this naturally if you're somewhere, so it's just passing the time. So it's like every day, it's not like you're saying selling, you're just here hanging out, passing time.
No.
and
I
selling.
sell.
Oh, of course you're
hobby.
selling. Yes.
So if you, my calculation is simple.
Yes.
I do math a lot because I'm a producer, I think.
Yes.
But microns, whatever. No.
Yes.
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 Let's say you buy $10 worth of yarn, and that yarn you're gonna play with it for 10 hours. It will have cost you $1 an hour to participate in your favorite hobby.
I have never looked at it that way before.
No?
Never, and that is such a great way to look at it.
Yeah, but that's what it is.
I feel so much
It's
better now
true.
spending $34 on a skein of yarn.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
That's such a great way to look at it.
That's the first time anybody talks about it in that way.
Yeah.
Because I know that going to a store, and let's compare it to, you're going to buy a pair of jeans, and someone goes, and I would go, what? I'm paying $200 for those jeans. Are you kidding me? I am not, $200 for a pair of jeans. And then they go, okay, but there's 365 days in the year. So if you wear jeans on a daily basis, because most people, if you're just a casual guy, wears jeans every day, so break it down to days. You're paying $1. You're only paying less than $1.25
Every
the
time you wear
300
them.
Every time, which is nothing. But that's a little beyond and ridiculous. But this is a pastime
Do you
that
get to
you
wash
love.
them in those 365 days?
Fortunately,
I don't know. You put them in the freezer, supposedly.
And I say
now.
fortunately for the most part, we have to wear clothes, so it's so not the same because this is a passion and a love that you're doing. So your enjoyment for that
Yeah,
dollars and
that's
cents.
a fantastic
And you're
way.
making
goes a
something at
long
the end.
way.
In the end, you've got something you've made
Yeah,
yourself.
oh, I love
A
that.
finished product, which is the reward, is the finished product.
Yeah.
That finished product could be for yourself or if it's for someone else, it's always that much more special.
And
isn't
they're more expensive hobbies.
Oh, for sure.
it? Oh gosh, yeah.
I don't know.
Way more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Horses.
So, there you
We
go.
can go anywhere. We won't go there.
Okay, so you're sitting there and you're thinking, I have this idea about a yarn shop. And so how does that like develop? Because you walk into this store and you definitely feel it's got its own identity, it's got a great vibe, it's got a great feel to it. And so where does that come from? Like, do you draw something out, or how do you make what is in your mind come out into reality? How did that happen?
I did a little bit of Pinterest.
Oh yeah.
Actually, just to see how I was gonna hold the yarn, because I wanted everything to be, the backdrop to be very neutral,
Mm-hmm.
a bit Scandinavian, and what I wanted to stand out was the wall of yarn, the colors.
Yes.
And that you come in and you see it as, you know, you're buying paint and you're gonna create something. So I've got a true passion for color and color mixes, and I can't wait to like start making kits and like suggest like color mixes for people, because I really just like doing that. But yeah, that's how it really just started out. And I dye a little bit of yarn too, but I want to invite also teachers to come and give workshops like most yarn stores. Like you want to education and learn and
Yeah.
And I would say you've accomplished that, because it's like if you go into an art gallery and they have the blank canvas, which are the white walls, and you've got this nice warmth of the wood, and what is the product? It's the color, it's the yarn. They're the artisans. These people, we'll talk about their yarn as well, but I mean that is their works of art. Every skein of yarn, they put their time and their choices and their colors and their hands and fingers and spun, and that it's like these artworks that you've created on your walls. So, okay, I was thinking, so now you're opening a shop, you're thinking, I'm gonna do this, I'm upset. Okay, there are, a gazillion artisans out there, and fiberists, wool spinners, dyers, hand spinners, different processes. How do you choose who you're going to have and how you're going to set up this shop, and what was the end result?
well, with the help from fellow local yarn storists.
Yes.
I needed help to know which yarns that have a good budget to quality ratio, and what bases to carry for just day-to-day customers that come in that have a specific project to make, because that I have no idea. I don't have enough experience. I think personally I collect a lot of work from indie dyers, and just keep them in my personal collection and look at them and pet them from time to time.
I thought I was the only one who did that.
Oh,
Oh, okay, yeah.
No.
You don't want to see my stash.
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Jamaica, go there.
Don't go there. But anyway, and it was for me like indie dyers. I know very many that I love, and I wanted to start with a couple in the store, because some customers do look for that feel, that look, that contrasting color, or the imperfections of the perfection of indie dyeing. Small batches, special yarns that are maybe more expensive, but depends at what your per hour cost is for your hobby, right?
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
So that's still all the processes going on with this thing. You're analyzing this. You've got a process in your mind, and I mean, come on, you've organized it to a festival, so you've met a lot of these people. You've seen their yarn. You've got choices, and you're doing these ratios and these analysis in your mind,
Well,
how to kind of do it.
Not that much, Jamie. I really love their work, and as time goes, I'll probably you gotta invest also.
Absolutely.
But that's another nugget I'm going to take with me. The imperfections of perfection. That's how you described indie dyers. That's fantastic. I definitely get it. That needs to be on a T-shirt. That's great.
Oh.
So yarn selection, price point, is that a factor? Is that?
Well, there's only natural fibers in my store. So for sure, I'm not in competition with the Michaels of this world.
Yeah.
Oh my God, are we allowed to say that word?
Of course.
Okay.
Like grande surface, like
Grande surface. Ça veut dire quoi?
Well,
Grande
those like
surface. C'est
big
une
hobby
expression.
stores that carry
Ah.
plastic yarn can carry their plastic yarn.
Yeah, they have their market.
Yeah.
Their market, eh?
So I do have like industrial yarns. I would call them industrial because
Yep.
they're, you know, big batches, the colors are more constant.
Yes.
And a big choice of colors, and, you know, they can send you what you need for a lot of, you know, projects,
Right.
which is perfect.
So how long have you been open?
2 months.
Oh,
2
wow.
months. So do you have a
Okay.
sense yet of who your customers are?
Not that much, but okay, I'm in a touristic town.
Yes.
Montebello is touristic.
Yes.
In the summertime mostly. So I think half the people that come in the store are tourists and half of them are locals because there are not that many stores in my neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Everyone that comes, even if they're Montreal, sometimes they're like, we would come and take classes here and love the stores. I'm like, okay, well, it's people from further away, but
Yep.
yeah, I'm slowly.
So
learning.
when we're on vacation and we go to yarn shops, I always want to find out where's the local yarn, because that's what's appealing to me. You're in a different city, you're in a different country possibly, and so you're in a new yarn shop,
Yeah.
and it's the local stuff that I'm always interested
Yeah.
in. So how do you fill that need, and do you see a need here for in the shop?
So far, I've had one person that came in the store and says, everywhere I travel, I was always go to the local yarn store and get one yarn, you know, as a souvenir.
Yeah.
But I think that people want to have, in general, things that are from here.
For sure. Yep,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah. Yeah.
Because it reminds you of, like, when you're knitting a sweater or something, of the yarn that you picked up in this shop. You know, you're going to think about it. And this yarn was, you know, came from somewhere in this area and all that stuff. And so it's a feel-good
Yeah.
story.
So indie dyed yarns, for sure. Like, they're rare, right? So they're rare finds.
Yeah.
You won't find them all over the world. So I have to have some from Quebec
Yeah.
dyers.
Yes.
Eventually Ontario dyers.
Yes.
Who do like natural dyeing.
Wow, I wonder if you can find one.
I don't know, do you?
I don't know. We don't. I don't know. I know very few. I don't even know. But there's also, like you mentioned, touristy, and we just talked to a couple of people who just happened to be walking down the street. and
Because that's what we do
they mentioned
when we're on
that-
holiday. We
I
talk
talked
to strangers.
everybody.
We talk to everybody.
Some of them are from, most are, because we're in Quebec. So they mentioned, though, there's winter activities around the area. So I could see how
Yes.
you mentioned, okay, so, you know, Montreal is the bigger city, that's nearest bigger city. Not too far away, absolutely not far away. So people now knowing that you're here, it'll be a destination, like, we can go ski, or we can go do this, that, this, cottage, lake, and there's a yarn shop, and we could take classes. So they're just going to incorporate
Yeah.
that into their plans, I'm sure.
I hope so.
All those people
I
out
hope
there,
so.
they could come up here, and or they could make this their number one destination. Why not come and do a weekend, take some classes? Hey, we could take this class on Saturday and this one on Sunday or this day, and spend in a beautiful environment, hang out in Montebello, which is a very historic town.
And it's
one of-
beautiful.
It's absolutely stunning. There's water, there's chalets.
The
there's
chateau,
the chateau,
which is like a major destination.
which
yeah.
it's an old sea-end hotel from the turn of the century.
Yeah.
One of the largest log structures
The
in the
largest.
world.
The largest.
Exactly. So who wouldn't
I'm
want to
glad
come
you
to
corrected that.
Montebello for
You do.
the tourism, the history, and do some yarn projects and classes and purchase and just hang out with Amelie?
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Why
Talk
not?
fiber all
But-
day.
And
We
you know,
came all this way just to see you.
I feel so
Because we're
special
like,
now.
we need to see that shop. We need to be in Montebello. Where's Montebello?
It's really
and here
beautiful
we
to
are.
see both of you.
Likewise.
We both mentioned how I didn't know
Fangirls?
much about Montebello. We've been nearby before. We've been nearby and we've not even come in. And this gives us reason, and it's beautiful, and we love it.
Yeah.
Very
And the
nice
shop
town.
is amazing.
Yeah.
So we've talked to a number of people who own yarn shops, and Sylvie Olson writes about this in her book, about the sense of community that, and you've touched upon it as well, the knitting community. When you think about the community in your yarn shop, what does that look like? Like, are you gonna have knit nights? Are you gonna have classes? Like, what is that gonna be?
The ideas that I don't have children,
Mhm.
but
You have 70
I
goats.
think I have kids, other
You have
kinds
kids,
of kids.
70
They are
kids.
kids, literally. Right?
Yeah.
Am
But
saying
I
that right? The goat
think
is a
kids
kid, right?
learning, children learning to work with fibers,
Mhm.
something really special. So I have, like, in the store, I have little kits and things for kids. And here I have a little boy, he comes to get his embroidery stuff because he
Fantastic.
likes to do
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's
fil
great.
relax, which is like a cool product where you do cross stitching on a piece of clothing that
Yeah.
you own. Kids knitting needles and stuff, but I really want to do a fiber camp for kids at some point.
Oh,
like
that's a great
'cause there's
idea.
space here, and they learn like from A to Z how you work with yarn, like very small groups, but just I'm sure that there would be interest in that.
Oh, absolutely.
But for like adults and stuff, I think having like knit nights where you've got like a coach that can help you out with your project is always interesting, and some daytime classes, but all fiber arts,
Yeah.
not just knitting.
And I think the thing like you mentioned with children is a great idea. Christopher did teach in an elementary school, and it was a little bit of a festival, and he taught some dyeing. And these children were so mesmerized.
They're awesome.
And children, they're so curious, they want to know. And there was a little boy who was so smitten by the whole idea of wool and knitting and seeing Christopher like this, brawny, bearded, and he
Brawny? Oh,
and,
jeez.
so
You're being
it was
very
just
generous.
like- no, but it's so interesting how he was just like, wow, I can do that. But the questions that all of the children asked, it was I would think wonderfully successful for that reason only. And every town has a school, so there are children here who would you connect with the school, and that's something you're going to make it happen. I know.
And so just to finish that story off, so the little guy, when I was teaching in the school, his class didn't ever make it to my station. So he didn't get to see the natural dyeing. So he went up to the principal and he said, I really want to see the yarn. And so at the end, when I was packing up, the principal came over with this little guy and said, would you mind, he just really wants to see your yarn. And so I said, sure. So I open up the bag and he's looking through it and we're talking about it. And I noticed he's got his nails painted too, like all different colors.
Oh,
but you could just
that's
see the
right.
wheels turning and he was so excited. And it was just made my day. It was so fantastic.
And so, so for you to already have and touched on that idea, there you go. There's the inspiration, because
Yeah.
that's going to happen, and they're going to be teachers. They're teachers. This is something that they can teach.
So
children.
you're teaching a tangible skill as well,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
right.
it's fantastic. Like, I think that's great. So one of the things that I also struck me when I walked in here was the lighting. The lighting is so good, and it's so important to have great lighting in a knit shop. And the way it showcases the yarn is really wonderful. So I'm sure that the dyers that come in here, who have their yarn in here, are honored. Like, they're really impressed at the way that you show that. So.
But they haven't had the chance to.
We've
To
only
see it.
been open for 2 months.
I know. It's hard to believe, but so far, I mean, I see success all over everywhere I look. So, I mean, everywhere I look, you've got a good selection already. I mean, you've got
Yeah.
so much going on here. I mean, you've got quite a few different bases. You've got different.
Different cottons, different sizes of cottons,
Tell us a bit more.
some linen. Because I really love a lot of pearl Soho patterns.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
really just very simple but crisp,
Yes.
modern
Yep.
stuff.
That's just like their store, kind of like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have books like Modern Crochet, Modern Macrame, and that hopefully sparks like this more modern take on our art form.
Yep.
But I also got the Saltwater series books of all patterns from Newfoundland,
They are fantastic.
and I can't wait to try.
Oh my gosh.
something.
You have to look at the vamps.
Okay, yep,
Vamps, they are awesome. And they're great to knit up as well.
those are like the events are the cut.
No, they're the socks.
Oh yeah, cute.
The
Sorry.
socks. Well, they're
They're like
sock
little
slippers.
Socks, those little
Okay, yeah, yeah.
socket slippers.
Socket slippers.
slash
Okay.
slippers. Yeah.
Okay.
They're-
Yeah, and oh my gosh,
So
that
many
would
great
be,
things.
You know, one day we'll make it to the East Coast.
Yes.
I've
Yeah,
never
absolutely.
been, so
Oh, you have to.
yes.
Okay, so we were on the road of your
Different bases. So we
Yes.
have like yarns for people who want to make like baby clothing or socks or superwash merino,
Yep.
but some untreated yarns too, the bulky worsted, hand dyed yarn. I have yarns from my goats, so I have some cashmere, a little bit left. No, I have a bit left. I also sell roving for spinners. And my motto is color, color, color. So if I have macrame cord, well, I don't have white cord. Sorry, I have like all the colors of the rainbow of macrame cord. Yeah,
And so why'd you pick up the macrame cord?
because I really like the look of it,
It's
and I
cool.
wanna work it. I wanna learn a few knots and like just create. Because it's a pretty cool art form.
It is a very cool art form, and I remember when I was way back when macrame was popular, and the things that were being made that out of macrame. It's funny because I talked to my sister, I even talked to my daughter about this, and they'll remember the things that were made that were macrame because it's such an interesting form, a craft form, and so we remember the macrame. Plant hangers or any objects that we make out of it. And so I think it's fantastic. I love the fact that it's back now and that in a big way, so many people are interested in it.
Okay, I'll confess. I do remember because my much, much older sister did make a macrame table, hanging table, like a planter, and she had the glass cut specifically, and it was 3-tiered table, 1,
What?
2, 3, and it was a macrame hung in our living room. I was a baby. I remember crawling under it. I must have been 2.
Was it brown?
It was
Jamie's
beige.
math is
Beige.
great.
It was
Yeah.
beige. It was beige. It was beige and brown. But I remember beige and brown. But there was a lot of white as well, like
Oh, wow.
cream, natural kind of cream.
Yeah.
So yes, I do kind of recall that. Like I said,
That was really nice to see it back. So that's great. I love the store.
Thank you.
We are so happy that we made it up here and had the opportunity to interview you, one of our favorite
Give me
Canadian
the
fiberists.
And I wanna
Give me the
ask-
heart back.
and I want to ask. So while we're on the, let's just close this out. So here you are, new venture. You've done amazing in your past career. You've done an amazing, exceptional job at a very, very successful festival, Twist. You've now opened this next step in adventure. Little Amelie coming from the countryside. Little Amelie.
The Ottawa
And
countryside.
here you are, a few years later. Could you have imagined little Amelie thinking, one day, here I am? Could you ever have imagined?
Oh, who doesn't like to play store?
That's true. That's true.
Can I confess something? When I was
Yeah,
a kid, I was
absolutely.
such a loner that
Oh,
I liked to play library, and I would make like all my library cards for all my books, and I would actually
Oh,
like
jeez.
borrow books from myself.
That's
That's a
awesome.
little nerdy.
that.
But
no.
yeah, playing store,
explains-
like I think I've always.
That's great.
That's
It's
incredible.
fun. It's fun.
So the seed was planted when you were a child.
Probably.
That's what it sounds like.
My whole family's like it just feels very natural.
It's incredible how thinking like we would never meeting you and knowing you and being this person who needs to be out there. You're running a festival. You're out there. You're meeting people.
The face of Twist.
That you would say that you come from that little girl loner to, and people would never. have
I'm
guessed that.
super shy, but super sociable at the same time. Like, you know,
I know, I'm super shy.
voilà.
No, this is true. We had this conversation on the way here. I brought it up again because people have an impression of who you may be.
Yeah.
And so when you open up to, even in conversation, you open up to something from the past that we would never have guessed in Amelie. Someone who's alone and you did your own library.
Little Amelie would rent books from herself.
For herself. Oh my God. No, that is.
Well, I just want to thank you,
thank you.
for taking the time with us and having this interview. This is wonderful. And again, we're so excited that we're able to come here and chat with you and learn more about you.
And after a little bit of time has gone by since Twist and since we've seen Amelie, so again, so happy to be here to see you again.
We're gonna cry.
Don't make me get teary. We're not supposed to hug, but we're all good.
We're all double vaxxed. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Amelie is such a fantastic person, and she's so accomplished. She's done so much.
She is a sweetheart. I mean, she is so adorable, smart, witty, funny, and very subtle in her commentary and delivery. And she's so humble.
And she understands English humor, more importantly.
Barely.
I don't think-
She took note that there's definitely a difference between Quebec and Ontario humor.
Yeah.
But she gets it because her other half is,
From Ontario.
Ontario. So she doesn't quite get it as, if you're poking fun, but she realizes that's Ontario English humor.
I think she gets it. But she's done so much. I mean, my gosh, for someone her age, and I don't know her age, but she's definitely younger than
You.
She's done a lot. And just to think, taking on the Twist Festival and having it grow to the size that it is today is huge. That's huge. And, waking up one morning and saying, hey, I'm going to start a yarn shop. And not only did she start a yarn shop, I had high expectations, I will admit, in what she was going to set up in her store. But she blew my expectations beyond what I had expected. It's a gorgeous store, and it's beautifully laid out. Aesthetically, it's just gorgeous. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you come up front, I love the colorful decor in the windows, bicycle, pom-poms. It's just a burst of color, and it was very, that part of it was fun. That's another word to describe it. It seemed very fun and a lot of creativity going into every detail. And inside as well, she wanted to be very, almost like an upscale Swedish shop with the natural woods and the bursts of color. The lighting was fantastic. And what was really interesting is how she mentioned it used to be a furrier shop. He used to create furs in the day when it was something, but for over 30 years. So the back part of this structure is like a vault with 2 foot.
It's not like a vault. It is a vault. Like it has.
It is.
Yeah, the door is is this thick, and it's got a dial on it. I hope.
A dial. In case you want to ring somebody up, in case you can get locked in it. No, it is a vault. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like a bank vault.
Yes.
With the big metal door.
Yes.
But that was because he would have, a gazillion dollars worth of furs in there, and they had to be kept at a certain temperature. The walls are 2 feet thick. So it was a little bit of a challenge to transform that part about it. But it's fantastic with the racks, and she's very well organized back there for her dye studio.
Yeah, and she's got all her trade secrets back there, so that's why the vault is on there.
That's why there's
it.
with the secret code to get the secret. Yeah.
And then there was another room,
Combination.
the other room which is perfect for training, or leading classes.
Yeah. So quite a large space, and just eventually have when you can have people just come and hang out and sit around and have a knit along, what have you. There's a beautiful space.
Yeah.
Very beautifully furnished as well. Very upscale. And her products, she had quite a variety of products.
Yeah,
too.
the selection was great. It was fantastic, and she had something for everyone.
Yes.
And you could definitely feel the Scandinavian influence when you were there because it wasn't crowded at all. There was space, and when you're talking about color, I think the space really emphasized the color because you could really stand out. She had walls that were not painted any particular color, and so it made all of the yarn pop.
That would be white.
Yeah, and so it made it pop. It made all the colors pop. That would be what, yes. I think that's why it looks so clean as well in there.
Well, and then you have to think, it's a Quebec influence as well.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
I mean, she's quite arty, and I find that the Quebec scene is very artful.
Yeah.
And so it just had this very happy feel to
Happy
it.
is a good word, yes.
And colorful.
Yeah.
And arty.
And that is going to be arty, yes. That's going to be, her store's going to be busy all the time as well, because in the spring and the summer, people are in Montebello, and then in the fall, it's packed because everyone goes there to see the trees, and in the winter, they're skiing. So she's got people cycling through a lot, like all year, so it's a great spot.
And I didn't realize, the town itself of Montebello, I didn't realize the history of it. I didn't know it was like a CN town with the railway would have gone through there in the late 1800s. There was the old train station that was transformed into the chocolate shop. So that town has been established as a tourist town. I mean, didn't they're one of the world summits there as well?
Yes.
With all of the world leaders in Montebello.
I think it was the G7.
The G7. So that tells you how prestigious the town is.
Yeah.
And it's not, I didn't have any idea about that town before we arrived. And it was lovely. And so she's in a great location. She's not far from home.
No.
The river's just down the way.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's a destination. If you want to do a little, if you're not too far away, you can take a little day trip and go to Montebello if you're from Quebec or even Toronto. If you're in Toronto and you decide you want to take a trip to Montreal, you need to take a little detour to Montebello.
Yeah.
Just to go to the shop, and you get the bonus of the town.
Absolutely. Now, we're sitting here with the yarn in front of us, and we haven't talked about the yarn yet.
Where did that come from?
Came from wool. Did we ever say the name of
No, you didn't.
Amelie's store?
No.
Wool. W-O-O-L.
Wool. Emporium de laine, which
Yes.
is a wool emporium.
Yes.
Emporium of wool.
Yep. And so we picked some yarn. One of them is from her kid. One of her kids.
One of her kids.
One of her 70
Which
kids.
one is that, pray tell?
It's this one, the cashmere. It's really nice.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't love cashmere? And
this is from her line, Fibrland.
And where does she get it? Like, is it hand spun or she has it? Where does this get done?
Well, I would.
I know she says, it's funny because she says, I brush my goats. So I guess, that fiber you don't shear them then. I guess you brush and it just kind of.
Yeah. So I want to know why you're asking me these questions.
Well, we talked to her about it. No, but we talked about it, so I don't remember, but you might. But she said she brushed it, and then she brings it to a local mill for processing.
That's right.
And then you have this beautiful, soft, and natural. It's all natural. That's the natural.
It's very nice
color as well, which is a beautiful silver gray. It's lovely.
And then she had a wall of yarn.
Which you loved.
Yeah. And do you remember this one?
Yes. It's, well, do I say it in French or English?
French.
Emilia Philomene. So, Emilia Philomene.
And the dyer behind, so it's a Quebec dyer, and she's a fantastic dyer. And the colors are great. And this was on one of the walls. All of her yarn was on a particular section of the wall, and it looked fantastic.
This color is one of my favorites. Absolutely beautiful. It looks like a fall color right out of a picture book of
it's
fall
beautiful.
Trees.
It's really nice.
This beautiful rust, super soft, and that's again the Quebec influence because she has several Quebecers in the store as well.
Oh, she's got a lot. Yeah. And speaking of which, one of the most famous dyers in Canada, Julie Asselin, and I'm sure she's familiar with most of our viewers, and she's also from Quebec. Yes. And she's I believe she's on the south side of Quebec, so she's more in the eastern townships. Okay. And so this is a boucle, and it's really...
Again, it's like a beautiful, almost like a moss green, fantastic. That is really soft as well. So what are we going to knit with it?
What are we going to knit?
But it's boucle, but what is it?
What's
the fiber?
I don't have my glasses on.
Oh my gosh.
It's I did check it out. It is alpaca.
Oh yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, and
with something else,
but it's mostly alpaca.
But it's beautiful.
I don't have my glasses on.
It's super soft.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes. and I'll be putting a link to the websites as well. So that's really nice. And I haven't figured out what I want to do with this yet. I kind of think I know, but I'm not going to say.
Okay. And you were being quite conservative in a shop, and
Yes.
really. She had also a whole selection of books and accessories and everything you need in the yarn shop.
Yes.
It was absolutely
Yeah.
really great shop.
And also speaking of books, there was the notebook that she also included.
There is a notebook. It's over.
I'll go get it.
Yes, and there's also this little notebook which is called My Knitting Notes, because that forever sweater I was working on.
Forever
it's
21.
Still working on. I had a little piece of paper, and I must have folded it 6 times with my notes as I went along, so I knew where I was at, and when I did some certain counts and switched colors, and so I thought, when do you ever need a notebook? But you do need a notebook.
Oh my gosh.
So there I have
Absolutely
it.
do.
Because I'm going to need this when I do all of my future sweaters and projects and such.
It's a great book, and it's a really nice book, and it's perfect for all your projects.
It's fantastic.
And then an earring. She gave us one earring to share.
Looks like a counter, or what do you call that?
Close, a stitch marker. And it's
Stitch marker.
And it has the logo on it. Well, I'll take a photo of it because the camera won't pick it up.
Wool.
Especially when I have it the wrong way.
It's wool.
It says wool.
Mm-hmm.
How do you say that? Pronounce it. It has the 2 dots over
The 2
O.
double dots. Wool.
Wool. So there you have it. So we had a fantastic time. And
Yes. You do get to know a person in that short time. Short time. We chatted for about an hour. You really get to know someone. And, we mentioned how humble she is because she's not one to rah, rah, rah. But like we mentioned the Twist Festival briefly. But my gosh, like you said, it started out, like yourself, very humble beginnings in the middle of nowhere. Saint-André-Asselin, which is one of the townships, right just a part of Montebello, is part of the same little townships there. Out of nowhere, she created an amazing, incredible festival that's gone on now. How many years has it been? Do you recall?
I don't know. A while.
Wasn't she going to have a 15-year anniversary?
I'm not sure.
I could be wrong on that, but I'm thinking 15.
We'll have to check.
With coming up with COVID. We'll double check.
If anyone knows, let us know. And if not,
everybody knows.
And then we'll reach out to Amelie and ask her.
I'm just going top of mind. But no, the longevity, the success of the festival, COVID, of course, has put a little dent in that.
Yeah.
But it's going to come back strong as ever. And I bet you, and it's great. Now with the Twist Festival, you'll want to make a pit stop at her shop because it's really close.
Yes.
So that's going to be a destination for all of our friends and viewers who decide to go back to the Twist Festival will need to make their way into Montebello.
Yeah, I had no idea Montebello was so close to the Twist Festival. I knew people that were staying there, but when it makes sense. So
now that we know,
we'll be figuring that out as well.
Yeah.
The next time we go, and I'm sure her store is going to be successful as well.
Oh gosh, I wish her all the success, but I don't think it's a wishful thinking. It's going to happen. You build it, they come, and they will come.
So I just want to thank Amelie so much for taking the time to share her story with us and with you, and I just want to thank everyone for watching as well.
Thank you, Amelie, and thank again all of you.
Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
À la prochaine.
I thought it was a rabbit.
We've got the furry appendage.
Jeez. This is not going to be a serious interview, guys.
Go into the chapel and we're gonna get married. Go into the chapel of love.
You're on your own on this one, buddy.
Good. I get to talk.
That's what
You get to talk?
In 30 seconds. I just have to talk.
The dynamic. Oh my goodness.
So.
Okay, it's on.
We're on.
We're on.
I am 16, going on 17. I will still love you.